This is the amazing Boss Katana bass amp, and in this video I'm going to showcase some of the features of it while showing you 6 tones influenced by 6 of my favourite players. That was For the Love of Money by the OJs, played by a very young Anthony Jackson who used a plectrum and a phaser pedal. That was one of the first effects actually to be used on bass on a record. What I'll do is I'll quickly run through the controls that you have on the amp. You've got compression and drive up here on the left. Then you can select between 3 different amp voicings: vintage, flat or modern. You have the usual, gain, volume, and you can blend your signal. That for bass players is very important, to be able to have your direct signal present with the amp or the affected signal. You've got a good EQ section here, and then 2 sets of effects, FX1 and 2, and then you've got the master volume, tweeter, and a few other things. And here's where you select between your different patches, and you can use an external pedal for that. But I absolutely love this. This is the Boss Tone Studio. And this is where you can really very easily tweak things. So, look, here we go. Let me just introduce you to this. So we've got the edit situation here where you've got different compressions, different drives. Now, Boss is a world leader in effects, and you've got all of them available here. And you can change which ones are available. You can change them on the amp or on the app, and you get to select which ones you can choose. So what I've got going here, this is the chain. You can see your signal chain there. See your compression settings. You've got a little bit of compression. You can choose different compressors by selecting the drop-down menu here. Then I've gone for a modern amp here, and fairly simple. The real magic is coming with FX2, which if I click on that, I've got a phaser, and you can change different settings on it. Including the different stages, so 12th stage there. If you want to go a bit crazier, there's a biphase. I find the thing to do is just to select between a few and just do some tweaking and see where you find your tone that you really like. The second tone is influenced by Hamm, and I first heard this on Live in San Francisco by Joe Satriani, and there's a bass solo that Hamm does with a bit of delay on it, and I've gone for some delay and a tiny bit of chorus on FX1 there, but listen to this. I absolutely love putting on an effect exactly like that and exploring chords and drones, even whilst playing scales. That is, in fact, one of my favourite things to do on a bass, is to put some sort of reverb, chorus, atmospheric effects and just explore different ideas for hours, and Boss does it brilliantly. Next, we have a Geddy Lee inspired tone where we've got the direct signal 100%. Blended in with that, we've got a bit of distortion just to put a bit of hair onto the note. Now, if you go into this one, you can see drive. Now, I've got the bass DS. And the tone, look, +10 at the moment. Now, if you want a bit more of the top end, you can do that. Let's have a listen to, what have we got here? Metal Zone, that's pretty cool. Now, there's not too much going on there, but if I go to the direct mix, bring that down a bit, maybe put the effects level up. Drive up a bit. You can really alter the flavour of distortion. Let's go back to DS. What did I have? I had this one, bass DS. Now, another really great feature I like is this NS here, the noise suppressor. Without that, You've got a lot of noise going on, which you do with distortion, so you can add that and really clean things up a lot. It's very easy to save anything here. Look, if you go to right here, and then you can just press right and it saves your last setting. And that all is remembered on the amp, the memory settings. Next time you play, it kicks off exactly where you ended. This is a Flea-inspired envelope filter. That's a very common effect to have on bass. And here I've got it on FX1. As you can choose different effects on FX1 and FX2. So, you know, there's a bass synth. You can tweak the wave. If I just click out of that and back again, it remembers where I was before. Now you can change the frequency, the polarity up and down, the sense, all kinds of effect parameters here. Direct mix is a really important one. You can add the low end back in. That is hours of fun with that effect. Next we have an Octave. Now the Boss OC2 is an iconic pedal from the 80s. Now this really is, this could be any player. This could be Guy Pratt, Tony Levin, Pino Palladino. They all use this a lot. And also, you know, modern tunes like Uptown Funk. You know that bit in Like a Prayer by the end of that? That's where Guy Pratt used an octave pedal with all kinds of fills. If you are watching this guy, sorry for butchering your line, but he just did some really incredible fills. And it just sounds amazing with this octave pedal. This is one of the effects I think that bass players can use a lot on gigs depending on what you do. And again, look, we've got the 1 octave level, we've got the 2 octave level and the direct mix, so you can play around with things, get rid of the direct and just have, well, what happens if we just have the 2 octave? 1 octave as well. But whenever you find what you like, just come over here, call it what you like, right, and it's just saved. Very easy to use. Let's say you like that sound, but you also want to put something on FX2. So let's do this. Let's have a look. Well, you've got all these different harmonists. I mean, that might be quite crazy, but why not? Let's have a go. Now these, we get to the territory of you don't really use these on gigs too much, but you know, you never know, you might need something. Harmonist, let's do something else. What about a bass synth? Why not? Bass players do play keyboard bass and also need to replicate synth bass lines. So you could tweak something. That's a sawtooth wave, square wave. You can get some good mileage from that. That's just adding a second effect onto the first one. You can turn that off. And actually that's a good feature I haven't shown you. That's on the amp as well. If you look above the effects 1 and 2 buttons here, you can cycle through 3 different banks of effects. So coming back here, you've got a bass synth there, you've got a flanger, and you've got a digital delay there, which can be edited at the front here where it says edit. You can tell the amp which effects you want it to cycle through. So it's really customizable, this, to exactly how you want it. Right, the last effect, or tone really, I have to say tone because there is no effect, is a sort of a Jamerson clean sound. So what I've gone for here is the vintage, obviously, because we're talking about bass lines made in the 60s. And this really is probably where you're going to be for most of the time when you're playing bass, no effects. Just a really simple, great sounding bass. Now this is the 12-inch version, 12-inch speaker, and you've got a 2x10 as well. Now I have to thank Boss for sending this to me. It was actually bang on the top of my list of gear to get, because I think if you have a practice amp, the ability to hear yourself, I mean, I do often practice just like this, just with the bass in the lounge or whatever, and it's fine, but nothing replaces the sound of air being pushed out towards your ears. It's brilliant. So this was on the top of my list, and through a bit of luck I managed to get a contact and they sent me this amp, and I absolutely love it. This probably is where I would have it most of the time. And then I must admit I do like this. There's no doubt that certain effects make you play in a different way, make you play different styles, and coax out different parts of playing and creativity from you. As well as a great practice tool, this is a really good recording amp for the studio. There are a number of ways you can record this. At the moment, I'm taking an XLR cable straight out into my Universal Apollo, and that's what you're hearing now. But you can put a microphone in front of it. That's a really good way. At the moment, I'm in an apartment, I can't really crank it, but you don't need to crank it too much, but that's a very good traditional way of recording an amp. Or you can use the USB-A cable straight into your computer, and that's a very, very easy way of capturing the sound. So this is a perfect practice amp size, maybe smaller gigs, maybe if you're in a pit band or something like that. The 210 would be good for rehearsals and mid-sized gigs as well, especially if you're using in-ears or monitors anyway. You don't need too much volume from your amp. And if you get an expression pedal or a foot controller, you can go to the assign section and assign pretty much anything to any buttons. That really makes it very useful as a gigging amp as well. This thing can make hundreds of tones, but those are 6 there that hopefully will inspire you to create your own thing. And if you are looking for a practice amp, you really can't go wrong with one of these. I've been waiting for the Katana. It's been around for guitar for years, but not for bass. It's fairly new and it's just awesome. So check it out. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.